seat taken?
Nobody's in the seat, then I ain't taking, friend.
So this is Sabak?
Sabak.
Yo, what is up? Welcome back to Sabak the Block, the official First Cut Star Wars show. We are back. I am here with RB3 to break down all the good Star Wars news and talk about anything going on inside the Star Wars universe. RB3, how do you feel to be back on Sabak?
Oh, there we go. Feels good. You know, I'm always behind the camera, but you know, here in front of the camera today. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. Obviously, the show had been hiatus for a little bit. Full transparency, that's on my end. My bad. I wanted to do this show on a weekly basis. It has been in hiatus, but I will make sure and talk about Star Wars on a weekly basis once again. So make sure you guys tune in for all that. For anyone who's watching right now, we appreciate you. Shout out to you. We're going to read your comments if you're here live. So make sure you guys tune in live every Wednesday at 6 p.m. PST. That's usually when we go live. But now that that's out of the way, RB3, what we want to do up first is discuss any movie news that has come out over the weekend. And the first thing, RB3, is that we were at LA Comic-Con this weekend,
Hey.
which means we saw just the last 5 minutes of Ewan McGregor on stage talking about his experience with Star Wars, which was kind of cool, right? We got to walk by and see Ewan on there, and I literally said, yeah, that's Obi-Wan. He's on stage right now, right after my panel. But while he was on stage, RB3, he said that they have explored the possibility of bringing back season 2 of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and that if he does come back, he really wants to make sure and showcase the flashback of Obi-Wan being in the classic Clone Wars armor. How do you feel about a potential Obi-Wan Kenobi season 2?
I would love to see it. I really would. I thought the first season was cool. It was good, but it definitely showed some potential. I thought it was originally a miniseries. I thought, you know, wrapped up with its ending too. But I can see more of Obi-Wan's story. I mean, we chronicle this man throughout literal decades in his life, between the prequels and the original trilogy. So yeah, there's plenty of story to tell. There's plenty of things to mine, and I would want to see that. Has it been confirmed if season 2 is happening already?
Nope.
No, it hasn't.
This is him speculating. This is him saying that he definitely wants it to come back and that he's talked about it with some of the creators.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they can find a way to make it work. I mean, that would be amazing. I mean, they should have. I feel like the season 1 of Obi-Wan was successful in terms of commercially and in terms of Emmy nominations. They got multiple Emmy nominations, including for best limited series / anthology. So I think you know, I think there's an audience for it. I don't know if I want to see any more baby Leia or like little girl Leia. I think that was cool, and maybe they do continue with that storyline if they find a way to make it compelling. But I feel like that was the only part of season 1 that kind of deterred from the rest of the story, and the plot lines did kind of move in conjecture, but then sometimes it didn't. So
yeah, I do feel like that's definitely something they can probably skip. I feel like the main thing that would happen in season 2 would be obviously the evolution of Obi-Wan inside the Force. I think this would be a great opportunity, RB3, for them to explore what it means to learn to become a Force ghost, which is something that has a lot of fans been talking about for years, especially with the idea of the first ghost being Qui-Gon Jinn, and how Qui-Gon Jinn was Obi-Wan's master, both inside the real physical world, but also outside of it once he was a Force ghost, and that he trained Obi-Wan in the desert throughout those years, which is why Obi-Wan, by the time we meet him in Rebels, he's so good that he just cooks Darth Maul in 2 seconds. I don't know if you've seen that fight scene. Oh, yeah. But that's part of what has become of Obi-Wan, is the fact that Obi-Wan is so ahead of the game that he can literally see stuff before it happens and just through you. And that's why in A New Hope, he just holds the lightsaber and just poofs into a Force ghost. Like that's him just leveling up to a level that we haven't seen before in the Force. So that's the idea of him training inside the Force, learning to confront himself, similar to what Yoda did in Clone Wars season 7 or season 6, I believe, when he's able to confront himself inside the Force. So that's a big thing that a lot of fans want to see if they do an Obi-Wan season 2. What would you like to see in an Obi-Wan season 2?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see more of Moses Ingrid's character. Am I pronouncing her name correctly?
Moses Ingram, yeah.
Yeah, she's one of the Night Sisters, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I definitely want to see more Night Sisters mythology.
All right, Inquisitors. Sorry, bro, you're wrong. Inquisitors. My bad.
You know, close enough. But no, I would love to see more Inquisitor content, especially maybe it could tie in a way to Jedi Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor, because I believe those also take place in that same time period too. So maybe we get a Obi-Wan season 2 that introduces Cal Kestis, or maybe just introduces us to the other Inquisitors that are part of the Empire at the time.
Yeah, I feel like that would be an interesting point. Sure, I know we saw a little bit of it in Jedi. Tales of the Dark Side is what it was called. Tales of the Dark Side. We saw a little bit more of what happens with the Inquisitors, how they become Inquisitors, and what happens after they are Inquisitors inside of the Darth Vader kind of grip that he has on them. So I think that would be an interesting aspect for sure. All right, let's get to the realness of it all, RB3. Is this going to happen?
I think so, because
you think so, really?
Yeah, because Star Wars, they right now their bread and butter is TV, and I know Bob Iger kind of said maybe they're moving away from it, but I feel like because Obi-Wan season 1 was a pretty decent, a pretty good success for Disney Plus at the time. This is before Ahsoka, pre-Acolyte too, so it did a pretty good amount of numbers. And also, again, like I said, the critical acclaim with the Emmys, I think they have a lot of motivation to bring it back. I think they also have, I'm almost certain they have enough algorithms and Twitter, feeds and things like that to engagement numbers to know how actually active it is online. But I feel like when Obi-Wan was coming out, it was one of the more active times that the Star Wars fandom had came out for a TV show. It either in a positive way or in a negative way, but I think for the most part it's positive. So I feel like and to kind of be a little bit more blunt with it, the fact that it's a white guy as the titular character and the lead, I feel like it's a little bit easier for Disney to kind of look at that and be like, oh, this is maybe what the fans want. I don't know if I agree with that. I think Acolyte was still have potential to be great, and I liked it. Overall, it definitely had its ups and downs. It was a flawed show, but they look at that and they see POC, they see diversity, and they take their little focus groups and stuff, and they run with their narratives. I think with this one it's a little bit tougher because we already have a season 1. It's already been established, and honestly, they probably could do another focus group, social group, whatever, and come to the determination that this will work as well. So I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like, I have to disagree. I just feel like Star Wars, you've heard my conversation here, obviously, on Sabak, that I feel like they're definitely being so reactionary to the point that they don't want to do any season 2 of any new show except for Ahsoka. That's kind of it. They're going to wrap up the Mandalorian storyline with the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, which is going to be the first movie that Lucasfilm releases. And I think they've been trying to restart this entire industry, this entire franchise, and just flip it on its head and just do something different. Because I do feel like they're so afraid of offending people now with just, I don't know, a black character, because apparently that's offensive, that they're not going to try anything new. and that they're not going to expand on season 2s or season 3s of any new show, which includes the Acolyte. So unfortunately, I think this is Ewan kind of speaking it into existence, but it's probably not going to happen for the most part. And when he says he's talking to creatives about it or talking to people about it, I think he's mainly talking to the people behind the scenes, like directors and writers and stuff like that. I don't think he's necessarily talking to the head honchos and people like that. I just feel like he's maybe Deborah Chow, maybe that's who he's talking to. And you know, it gives him hope, and there's hope there. But at the same time, I just feel like they just don't trust anything and anyone or anything right now inside of Lucasfilm, which is kind of disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. I mean, I definitely think, you know, like there's a little bit of shaky water happening with Disney and Disney Plus and everything overall. I still just do feel like, because he's a legacy character, because Obi-Wan has been in not just the prequels, but the OG trilogy, I think there's just a lot of legacy there. And even though, you know, Mandalorian, the storyline is wrapping up with the Mandalorian and Grogu, I still think that there's room for more storytelling on television with Star Wars, and more continuous storylines, you know. Like, I don't know about Book of Boba Fett getting a season 2. You know what I'm saying? I don't know about I don't know about Book of Boba Fett, but I do think something like Ahsoka is definitely primed for a season 2. You know what I'm saying? So
that's the only one that's been confirmed. So I guess what I'm saying is Acolyte is not happening. Obi-Wan season 2 is not happening. Boba Fett's not happening. Mandalorian's not happening. So these are the other live action shows that are not happening. The only one that for sure are happening, because it's already been made, is Andor season 2. And then that's going into production next year is Ahsoka season 2. So currently, Andor doesn't count in my opinion because that's already been done. Ahsoka season 2 is the only one that's officially going into production, and that's been greenlit for more continuing stories on TV. So I guess that's why I don't feel like Obi-Wan's happening. We already know Acolyte's not happening. Mandalorian and Grogu season 2 or season 4 or 5 is not happening. Season 4 would be. It's stuff. It's just, it feels like they're trying to go away from their TV shows, at least live action wise, and trying to do something else. So hopefully Ewan is, but we'll see.
I mean, you know, they're still the Skeleton Crew as well. I feel like we'll see how the Skeleton Crew is received, and if that enables like a second season, or if that encourages a second season. I just do think, you know, I think they are making an overall pivot towards movies, and I think the Mandalorian and Grogu movie is definitely an indication of that. The fact that they're not doing a season 4, they're opting to do a movie instead. It's probably more profitable to do a movie. You know, with streaming, is not a lot of ways you can make profit off streaming other than, you know, calculating the number of people who subscribe and watch that particular show. But then again, I just don't know if that's the case with, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I just think that they can, if Star Wars wanted to still keep their relevancy, which I think they should. I think TV has been a good way to hold down the relevancy in between movies from now. I think doing, like, you know, fewer shows, like, you know, like you said, no more the Mandalorian, Grogu, no more Boba Fett. Andor is coming to an end. Like, I like the fact that Andor is like a full story that's coming to an end. That's great too. Keep doing stuff like that, and maybe Obi-Wan comes to an end too. I would just feel like there's still, if you only have 1 or 2 live action shows going at a time, versus, you know, when we were in peak Star Wars, it was like 3 shows a year. You know what I'm saying? If they have 1 show a year and 1 movie a year, I think that's more than fine, you know?
Yeah, I think it is too. I just feel like there needs to be direction, and there needs to be intention behind what they're doing, which right now it just feels like they're so reactionary, that I just don't know. I just don't know what their thought process is right now behind the scenes, which is kind of scary for me. But yeah, here's hoping for an Obi-Wan season 2, and that we do get to expand on these characters a little bit more, specifically Obi-Wan and Reva, which would be really cool. Let's move on, RB3, to the green Psylocke tweak.
If you'd only had this little green Psylocke.
So the Green Psylop is more about the acolyte RB3. We had an interview, and by we, I mean Glamour had an interview with Jodie Turner-Smith talking about her life, her career, and she talked about the acolyte, and she had a couple of quotes talking about how disappointed it was to see that Lucasfilm wasn't standing up for their cast and standing up for their actors. When talking about Amanda Sternberg, she said that she put so much care and love into that show, and it's disappointing to see that the studio was not having your back in a very public facing way. They've got to stop doing this. Don't say anything where people are getting effing dogpiled on by the internet with racism and bullshit. It's not fair to not say anything. It's really unfair. It would be nice if the people with all the money were showing their support and putting their feet down and saying this is unacceptable. You are not a fan if you do this. Make a really big statement. Just see what happens. People of color, especially Black people, make up a very large percentage of buying power. They might find that it's actually more lucrative for them. I have the rest of the quote. But everyone's using the word woke now like it's some dirty word. What do you think of what Jodie Turner-Smith is saying about the way the toxic fandom has been kind of ignored by Lucasfilm instead of confronted directly?
Yeah, well, for one, shout out to what she said at the very end, like the way white people completely killed the word woke. I mean, just annihilated it. This was one of the nicest catch-all words for between people of color, between black people be like, yo, stay woke, like get woke, like learn something, read some, Fred Hampton, read something to get your mind right, get woke. That's what it was supposed to be. And now the right and Republicans and white people are just completely eviscerated, and it's terrible. Regarding, especially what she was saying with Lucasfilm, yeah, it's a tragedy, man. You think that they're a company that, Star Wars is all about love, unity, things like that. You think they'd get behind supporting the people who are the faces of bringing us to life. Now, I could definitely see Disney might think, if we attack the haters, like, we're going to seem like, we're going to turn off those. We're going to turn off those views. We're going to turn off that. We're going to keep lighting the fire, keep the secular cycle going. And to some extent, I do think there is some truth to that. Like, I think if Disney directly replied to a bunch of people, they would end up getting, they'll get dogpiled on. And it might be a bad PR look, That being said, though, just on the integrity front of it, especially considering that these are a lot of younger actors, a lot of more... These aren't, you're not getting like Tom Cruise or somebody who's like bulletproof, like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Amanda Steinberg is still relatively early in her career, so and she's the star, she's the face of it. She's not only the face, she's the double face. She's playing two roles, so it's like she takes on a lot of weight and just even bringing the show to life. And yeah, she got dogpiled on. She had to release that trash diss track, to come at the haters, which was, I forget the, F the haters, F the losers. The diss track wasn't my cup of tea. You know what I'm saying? I didn't like the diss track, but I do love Amanda overall. She is great in everything she does. Absolutely gorgeous too. I don't know if you've seen her on the red carpet. But it's completely unfair. It's completely not right. And I think, the company should show some support publicly, if not publicly, at least privately, like behind the scene. And maybe maybe somebody at Lucasfilm did call Amanda or something like that about the situation, but and kind of talk her through it or give her some mental health or something. If they at least handle it some way, either in the public or in private, for sure, it would be better in public. But also, I could see some marketing guru somewhere with some numbers saying that may not be the best movie. I don't know.
I have a lot of I have a lot of thoughts on this, man. I just feel like this has been tested, communicated, marketed to death as far as like how to handle these situations. And I just feel like if there's anything we should have learned during the BLM movement, is that not talking about it and pretending and it's not happening is worse. And it makes you look stupid. And it's so ignorant to me that it's just like literally commit. What she says is just all facts. I've been saying this for so long. All you have to do is put your foot down, throw the middle fingers up in the air, and be like, if this is you, F you, get out of here. Like, I don't know how many times I was on Twitch last night. I don't know how many times you go on Twitch. I barely go on Twitch. I go maybe like 3 times a year. I go to a homie's channel. I go to another homegirl's channel, and there's rules on it, bro. You know what I'm saying? It says if you show racism, this and that and that and that, you're kicked out. And it's like, I don't understand why that's so hard for people to say. And people are so afraid to say that now because it's like, oh, we don't want to offend the rich people who are racist. And it's like, why? Or the people who watch our show and happen to be racist, like offend them, like tell them, get out of here. Make a big statement, make a big fuss about it. And if they leave, they leave. And if they don't, then oh well. And if they want to talk crap, then let them talk crap. But by that point, you already made a statement and you're standing up for your actors and they feel more protected. I know John has talked about this too, John Boyega, how it felt kind of empty for Disney after like 8 years of him having crap thrown at his face, eventually saying it like 8 years later. And it's like, where was this support when I was promoting the movie? And the trailers were coming out, and it means something to the actors. It means something to the fans. And I do feel like Jodie Turner-Smith is only confirming it, the fact that she is an actress in this show and that she did receive a lot of hate as well. And that she's saying it would have meant a lot to me. It would have meant a lot to Amanda Law. And the fact that these giant corporations aren't able to step in and say something is really stupid. And it's really cowardly. It really shows a lot of cowardice and a lot of fear. Instead of being the big bad that you claim to be. Disney is this big billionaire, powerful company, and that they don't have the balls to, stand up against these guys. Like, you sound weak. You sound weak. I don't know. I just feel like it doesn't take a lot, and the amount of hate you might receive is minimal to the amount of hate you're allowing by not saying anything.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, it is fascinating. It's funny you mentioned BLM as like an example, and I do think for us as normal people, for me as a normal person of color, I definitely appreciated at the time when the companies like gave statements and did things, but in retrospect, I kind of loathe it now. I kind of hate the fact that they did that. And the fact that they made all these statements, they did all the public facing, they did all the PR, but then 2 years later they turn around and spit their eye right back at those same programs. They lay off all their people who came in through diversity programs and stuff like that. So it's like, on one hand, I do think being public, making statements, like being forefront about it is great, but then it is not great if it comes to some sort of, if there is like, if there's some sort of hypocrisy, if there's hypocrisy at the other end of it, you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't want them to come out and avidly defend Amanda Steinberg every single week on Twitter just to also still cancel the show. You know what I'm saying? Like, that to me is like, that would feel more empty, more hollow. That would actually turn me off as a fan. So in some ways, I kind of get it. Like, you don't want to do too much without being too much. And these companies, they're companies. They're not people. They don't have morals. They don't have like things like that. So for them, they're just like, what's the money maker? What's the bottom line? What's going to do this? What's going to do that? And for them, they probably feel like, we're going to piss people off by being shallow. Because at the end of the day, I don't know if the studio cares if people are hating or not. Like, I think they just only care if people are watching, or they're only going to care if it makes money or things like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I think in Lucasfilm's mind, they're like, yo, let the haters hate all day. We're still collecting the money. We're still collecting the bag, and we're going to execute the situation in a matter that allows us to continue to be more profitable. Is that wrong? Yeah. That is wrong. But unfortunately, yeah, that's the unfortunate reality that we live in this situation.
Yeah, but I feel like you can name a ton of corporations that do step in and that do something and that do stand behind their employees.
Which ones?
And that do try. Just companies in general. I just feel like there are companies. You can't say right now that there aren't any companies that don't hire Black people. And if some racist ass person came in there and started screaming in their face and being like, fuck you, go kill yourself and they say, hey, maybe you should leave. Maybe you shouldn't be here. I'm pretty sure there's companies that do that right now, man. I'm pretty sure that's not, some sort of foreign crazy concept that no one can stand up to these people and say, hey, you mind leaving? You might not be here right now. You're harassing our employee. Like, bro, like,
yeah, I
that's some basic shit. That's some basic courtesy shit. And that's, to me, is like, you if you can't be able to do that, then you shouldn't, be anywhere.
So there's two things. For one, I don't know. I personally don't. I don't think there's a company out there like that. I think most companies, especially me being a black person, I think there's no companies I've worked for that actually legitimately care for me as a black person. Like, for me personally, in my experience, I could be wrong. I'm only 27. But regarding, I do think you're right though. I think most people would have the courtesy if it's like a storefront, right? And somebody comes in screaming racist stuff. Of course we're gonna kick them out and make that the thing. I think that is like what human nature would indicate. I think it is a little bit different when it's like online, like when it's an online situation where there's, like how does like when Lucasfilm responds to negative comments, are they gonna only respond to the biggest ones? Like, are they only gonna respond to Geeks and Gamers? Are they only gonna respond to Nerd Ronick or whatever like that dude is? Are they only gonna respond to them, or are they gonna respond to the other tens of thousands of people who follow those people and are also commenting negative things because they're sheep? Like, do they respond to all the sheep or do they respond to the shepherd? And if you respond to the shepherd's only gonna keep making angry visual videos and like continue that cycle going. If you respond to the sheep, then, you might be actually legitimately, from their perspective, you might actually be legitimately putting yourself in a position to lose money. So I don't know. It's a catch-22. I know they did have an article out recently. It was either Variety or Hollywood Reporter where they were mentioning how they try to combat these things, like, and the fact that maybe the studio takes over the social medias for like certain actors during that time period or things like that. I don't know. I don't know if there's a solution. I really don't know. I don't know.
I personally feel like I just said it, bro. Maybe, I guess I'm taking a small concept with something as simple as a Twitch channel, but that to me is like the basic shit, right? You think they abide by that, whether they have 1 million followers or whether they have 1,000, right? Whether you're a Twitch streamer that has 10.5 million followers or whatever the hell Twitch numbers are, or one that has like 1,000 or less or 100, right? You still put those damn rules in there and you still say, hey, if you show this, you're out. And it's like, to me, that means something, right? And that means something to the people who are tuning into that channel and say, hey, I know that if I get 20,000 or 20 comments of some racist weirdo in here, I know they're going to get banned. And it feels better knowing that I'm not going to be attacked because of my skin color. And I feel like that's it. One big statement, just saying, if this is you, no thanks, or get out of here. Even if they don't get out, just say, get out of here. I think that would mean a lot. And I think that would go a long way in saying, anyone who wants to tune in or anyone who wants to, visibly attack and say, oh shit, they're telling me to get out. Like, but okay, they should feel unwelcome. They should feel like, oh shit, they're saying fuck you to me. Like, damn, like, all right, fuck you too then. Like, they should feel unwelcome. Like, that's the feeling you want them to feel.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel that. I definitely feel that. It's interesting because, like, where would they put like that? Like, where would they put like outlining those rules? Would they put that at the beginning of every episode, like of the TV show? Would they put it on Twitter and like pin it as their tweet? Is that
sure? Like, I mean, if I'm running it, yeah, why not? Put it on your social media. Make one video statement. It could be a director, it could be Dave Filoni, it could be someone like that. Yeah, why not? Why not both? Put a social media video and then put an actual statement.
Yeah,
and pin it.
I'm here for that. I do think that would be a good idea. I also just from as a black man who's been screwed over by a lot of companies, I'd rather them not be hollow and just like not try to fake it if they really don't care. And from the company side, I just think they legit don't care. Like, I think sometimes it's like, I feel like, like, I don't know, it hurts because it's like we're trying to ask a corporation to have values, and companies just don't have values, like, by nature. You know what I'm saying?
I agree with that. But at the same time, man, I do feel like we're living in a different time. For some reason, we're not living in a dog whistle time anymore. We're living in a blatant, openly racist, hateful, evil time where these aren't just comments being like, she's kind of weird. She has a weird droopy eye. No, it's more like, she's black. She shouldn't be black. She should be dead. And it's like, do you really want that? Whether you have values or not, whether you care about the show or not, the quality or not, nothing of that matters. Those kind of comments, do you personally feel like that? You know what I'm saying? Like, that it's just so beyond stupidly vile and evil, and just, you know what I mean? Like, so hateful to the point that it's just like, I don't think it takes that much morals to just be like, hey, don't do that. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't think that's a big major, like,
I don't think that's a big thing.
Hard thing for them.
No, it's not a hard thing. I guess the hard thing is just a question of, do you respond to the person with no profile picture and 0 followers on Twitter who's saying that? Do you respond to every single one of them? Do you make one big
don't.
But then
one big statement.
But you do one. Okay, but you do one big statement, and then the hate still continues, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, what if the hate still continues? What if the very next week they're back at it, back to hating, back to doing the thing? You know what I'm saying? Like, do they put out a statement every week? That's kind of what I'm asking. Is like,
no, just put one out. To be honest, man, if you're really asking me seriously, like, I don't know if you're asking me seriously, like, mitigation wise, put one big statement out. If you're asking me seriously, right? Put one big statement out. Mitigation. Hate continues. That's fine if the hate continues. If the hate continues, you just point it back to that statement. Or let's say one tweet pops out, it gets really big. Let's say one week, Amandla does a backflip in the show, and everyone's like, she can't do a backflip, she's black. Put one big statement under a comment. Let's say it's one of those guys, Geeks and Gamers and Nerdcrotic. Why not? Put one big and be just pointing right back to the same tweet you tweeted out 4 weeks ago where you said this is not tolerated or allowed, and just be like, whoop, it's pinned right there on the profile. There you go. You don't have to end. You could just be like, whoop, it's right there. Whoop, screenshot right there. Like, one tweet pops off, but for the other tweets, people can let them keep hating. It's fine. At least they know that they're not welcome. Yeah. That don't be here. Leave. Like, at least they know. Because, I missed that. I must have not read this 3 weeks ago. Oh, you're saying I'm not welcome? All right. It's like that. Like, that's what I want them to feel. Like, oh, it's like that? Yeah, it is. Okay, cool. I'm not welcome. I must have missed this. Like, you don't have to do it every week. Just do it once.
No, and then I'm 100% here. I'm here for that. And if they go hard and supporting their actors and supporting their people like that hard, I will be the biggest Star Wars fan in the world. I'll be retweeting every tweet. I'll be all behind them. I'll be all in for that. But then the thing is, if they do that and then still cancel the show, then it's like, bro, what was this all for? Like, why'd y'all do this? You know what I'm saying? Like,
I agree with you 100%. I agree with you. And I do feel like a lot of it is hollow and it is shallow and it is such a minimal task that most of the time it is because they actually care. You're right. They probably don't. But at the same time, what Jodie Turner-Smith literally said as well in her statement is also true, man. The fact that Star Wars has been so antagonistic towards Black people for the past, 25 years. And you're saying that a Black market wouldn't help as well? Like she said, Black people have money too, and Black people can show support. And you're saying no to an entire group of people and to an entire market because you're afraid of the angry white people?
But you know what, though? The toxic fan base didn't do that. It was Star Wars themselves. It was Star Wars who put John Boyega in every single trailer for The Force Awakens and ran it on BET 24/7.
But I think that's what she's saying too. That now that the accolade is being like, oh, we're trying to course correct from that bullshit that we've been pulling for years. and we're actually putting black. You know what I'm saying? Like they're course correcting.
Yeah, but then
now.
they canceled it.
That's what I'm saying.
But they didn't cancel it because fans was hating on it. They canceled it because nobody was watching it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but it goes both ways, man. It goes 100% both ways, and I can give you a ton of shows that have done similar numbers to The Acolyte, and they aren't with that kind of cast, and they'll probably renew it, and they'll probably give it another chance. But it does play a hand. I personally feel like it does, and it's not like these numbers were so abysmal to the point that, you know, it's impossible to bring it back for a second season. It's just not true. I've seen the numbers, and it's not as bad as people say it is, and it's more than acceptable for a season 2. So to say it's simply based on the numbers is just not. That's just not the case. There's plenty of other all-white shows and all-white people cast that have been brought back for less.
I don't know. I mean, Netflix just canceled that Jeff Goldblum joint that was all white people. I didn't peep it, but you know that they canceled that.
Yeah, but again.
You know, they canceled the other Jeff Goldblum show on Disney.
Looking at shows that have had, but you're looking at shows that literally have no IP, no production. I mean, no marketing budget, only production budget. Probably inflated, numbers for Jeff Goldblum. Like that kind of stuff is like so different because it just feels like it's very much like Netflix pumping the production, the cast, the numbers into a original show without realizing that if we don't put any marketing behind it, because I don't think I've even seen a poster for that show, much less a trailer. So I feel like there's a nuance to this, and I do feel like there is a submission by Lucasfilm saying, "Hey, you guys, like, just so you guys know, we're picking you, like you weirdo fanboy, we're picking you as our future," versus, trying to harbor in a new generation of Star Wars. They're catering to people who don't even like Star Wars and who are just doing it for the trolls and for the goofs. So I don't know. To me, it's just disappointing. And Jodie Turner-Smith is saying it. She's like, just say something. Just say something. Just say something. And it would be beneficial for us as actors to feel like at least said, F you to those guys. For whatever that's worth, at least it's worth a tiny bit, versus not saying anything and being almost feeling like they listened to them completely. So
yeah, no, I feel that. I mean, I feel it. I will love that. I will love it. I have a very cynical view of all companies and stuff. So I just see Disney as for what they are, evil corporation. They look at this Twitter stuff and they like, this is helping our numbers. If anything, this is literally helping our engagement numbers too. Cause that's how they track a lot of ratings for streaming stuff. Cause they don't use the actual numbers. A lot of times they'll use the tracking from like social media engagement, Twitter comments, or Twitter replies, hashtags, things like that. So, they, from their perspective, they might just literally look at it from a pure number standpoint and say, this is working, but again, it's not working on a personality level, but they don't care about people.
They should.
They should care about people. They should.
I agree. They probably don't care. They think it's probably fine. But if I'm being honest, man, it really isn't. Like if you really take a step back into it and look at the most popular shows of all time, and look at what, especially in recent times, let's say recent times, right? Look, just maybe because of the Game of Thrones fandom so heavy, and that show receives millions upon millions of viewers every week. Same with House of the Dragon. That shit goes in, bro. A Song of Ice and Fire, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube. Shout out to All X. I think their name is All X. Shout out to JJ on TikTok. Game of Thrones historian. These are channels that people know. And people are fans of these channels because they talk about a show they love, and they talk about this stuff, and they say, what's going to happen here? What is the theory between this, power and this power? Who's going to win in the battle between this and like, that is what builds fandom. That's what builds areas. Not, did you see she had purple hair? She might be gay. Like, that doesn't build fandom. The hatred of it doesn't work. And I feel like this idea of like, all press is good press, not really if you're really just tearing shit down constantly. And that's your voice of go to youtube.com and search Acolyte theory spoiler or whatever, versus doing it for House of the Dragon theory spoiler. two different things. You know what I mean? Like I do feel like if you want to reach that level of House of the Dragon, of a Game of Thrones level, you have to embrace a positive fandom, a fandom that wants to love and embrace the show, talk about it, discuss it, theorize, all that stuff. That's the kind of stuff that you should be harboring. That's the kind of stuff that drives up numbers on a weekly basis and makes it more money. That's a lucrative thing that you can actually put into. And the fact that Lucasfilm is not doing this, to me, it's dumb on their part. But
yeah. Well, so yeah, I'm legit not trying to argue. I'm just asking the question. But like for HBO, do they have like, you know, a podcast or something that like is an official place for their fandom or something like that? Because like you know, I just feel like Game of Thrones. You're right. Game of Thrones fans generally more positive. We see it on this channel all the time. You know, but when season 8 happened, dog, you know, Game of Thrones season 8, you know, the whole internet turned on it. Like Game of Thrones fans and you know, content creators alike. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I don't know. Is there like, does HBO really have a control of their fan base either, or like, you know, is it really just? I guess the question I want to pose is it? Do we put that responsibility on Disney and Lucasfilm to tamper down their fan bases, or should it be on us as normal fans to actively go and attack those racist fans and let them know that they ain't poop either? You know what I'm saying? Like it should. You know, I feel like maybe the onus should be a little bit more on us instead of the company. But
I agree, but at the same time, there is a way to kind of do both, maybe course correct and do that, because I do feel like the thing about the Game of Thrones fandom, as toxic as it can be, because you're right, it can be toxic, it doesn't have the level of, like, not even close to the level of the Star Wars toxicity and the kind of people who are doing Star Wars videos. And at the same time, there is a genuine love for the material, where in the Star Wars fandom case, there isn't any kind of love for the material, and you just know it because they don't know anything about Star Wars, so you can just kind of tell. Versus in the Game of Thrones fandom, they know a lot about the source material, and they know a lot about the show, and you can feel like there's an actual investment there. So whether they're hypercritical or not, that's always going to be the case there. And then when it comes to the characters and when it comes to House of the Dragon, the continuation, it is kind of funny, man, that you mentioned season 8, but at the same time, everyone talking shit about season 8 and everyone saying I refuse to watch anything that this, you know, HBO Game of Thrones universe ever puts out ever again. Look at House of the Dragon. Literally a year and a half, 2 years later, everyone talking all this shit, being like, oh, I'm never going to watch anything, you know, Game of Thrones related ever again by this company. Everyone watched House of the Dragon. Right. Look at the numbers. Numbers don't lie. You guys tuned in anyways, and you guys watched it, and you guys enjoyed it. A lot of the same people who hated season 8 of Game of Thrones. So it's like, it does matter. I do feel like it does matter. And you're right. Part of it is emphasis on the fans itself to stomp them out. But I feel like when it's this bad, because I don't think it's ever been this bad for Game of Thrones, ever. Like, I've never seen anything like I'm seeing with the Star Wars fandom. That you should say something just to save the future. At this point, it's like the car is burning. Try to put out the fire just so you can say, I have a car for the future of this fandom. Because again, how many people watch House of the Dragon that have never seen Game of Thrones? So many. And it's the idea of new people tuning into it. So yeah, to me, it matters. And to me, something should be done about it.
Yeah. No, I feel you on that.
Final topic before we take off for today. Full Sabak is about the future of Star Wars movies.
Full Sabak.
Our Full Sabak is all about the future of Star Wars movies. RB3, how do you feel about upcoming Star Wars movies right now, and how do you feel about this pivot that they might be making into more movies now instead of TV?
I love it. I love it. I want more movies. I need more movies. I miss Star Wars on the big screen. There was an event every couple years when a Star Wars movie came out during Christmas. I want to get back to that. And I think there's so many good stories that they have some potential. The Grogu, the Mandalorian and Grogu, whatever. I don't really know how much I care about that. It could be good. It could be good. And I do like Pedro Pascal, so I would be supporting it for him. I'd be more excited for, like an original kind of story. Like I think they had Patty Jenkins, Rogue Squadrons for a cool minute. That would have been exciting. That probably would have been the most exciting thing for me. But now I'm really excited for the Rey movie. I'm really excited to see who's the writer again. I forgot her name off the top of my head.
The writer or the director?
The writer had wrote a bunch of stuff that I really liked.
I think it's Stephen Knight. It might have been Stephen Knight.
Oh, really?
Stephen Knight.
Oh, okay. And who's the director on that?
Charmine.
Charmine.
Charmine, but I forget her name.
Oh, I see.
It's
yeah,
like
Charmine.
Pinoy?
Obad Chino. Yeah, I don't know. I'm probably saying that wrong, but she's a Canadian Pakistani filmmaker. Oh, cool. Yeah, maybe I don't know a lot of her stuff, but I know Stephen Knight. He did the first couple seasons of Daredevil, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I believe so, right? I think that's where
Steven.
people. Or we're thinking of Stephen the Knight, not Stephen.
Oh, that's the Knight. Okay, Stephen Knight. All right, who's Stephen Knight? I'm looking up who Stephen Knight.
Stephen the Knight.
Right.
Stephen Knight did Peaky Blinders.
Oh, okay. I like Peaky Blinders. Did he? He just okay. Yeah, Stephen Knight did Peaky Blinders. He did Serenity. Not the Joss Whedon movie. Yeah, Peaky Blinders is the main thing. Okay. Yeah. So maybe I don't know anything about these people, but I'll still watch it. I'm still here for it.
Yeah. How do you feel about what comes after the movies that have been announced every three? What else can Star Wars do besides the Rey movie and besides the Mandalorian and Grogu movie and besides the Filoni movie?
I actually don't know. I would love for them to do something. Like, I think Rogue One was such a cool idea. Like, take the moment right before, A New Hope, like taking getting the plans, from the Death Star. I think if they could find like a little side mission like that happened like in one of the previous movies and then make that into a full concept again. I feel like Rogue One had it and they just lost it a little bit because of the middle act was a little bit slower than the beginning and the end. But it was still an overall great movie. It's still probably my second favorite of the new Disney films. And I want to see something more like that. You know what I'm saying? I would love to see something like that. Or a Samurai Jedi film, like kind of akin to like Visions,
Yeah, I feel like they might be doing that with Dawn of the Jedi, right? I mean, I don't know what the origin of the Jedi is going to be, but the idea of that kind of James Mangold origin of the Jedi, how do you feel about that movie?
Oh, that's cool. I didn't even know about that. Yeah, that's cool.
Really?
Yeah. And if it's James Mangold involved, yeah, I'm super involved with that. I'm super down for that. According to Wikipedia, the novel that is based on is set 2,600, or the comic book that's based on is set 26,000 years before New Hope. So that's cool. I like that it's like far enough in the past to like not affect anything,
Yeah, I feel like that might be a good idea as well. Depending on which one succeeds the most, I feel like that's the one they're going to invest in the most, RB3. Do you feel like all these movies are going to get sequels? Or do you feel like only one or two?
I mean, I think did they announce that the Rey thing was like a new trilogy or something like that?
Nothing. No announcement.
Okay. I mean, I think they should do that as another trilogy, as a perfect like 10, 11, 12 situation. I would like to see that be a new trilogy. Maybe the Dawn of the Jedi, maybe, but honestly, maybe not. I don't want to see that get milked. I also don't know if I want to see any other sequels in maybe another Solo situation. And I don't know. But
what about the Filoni movie?
So what is that one about? Do they have
the Filoni movie is going to be the TV universe wrap up. So it's literally the Mandalorian and Grogu for Ahsoka.
Oh, yeah.
So instead of doing a season 4 or instead of doing a season 3 for Ahsoka, they're going to make it a movie. Is what it basically is.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't really care about that. Ahsoka, I wasn't really like super in for. And same with
is that because they spoiled it for you?
Yeah. It's because it's timeline spoiled it for me relentlessly. I'll never forgive people for that. But yeah, you know, I could see. I mean, I can almost kind of see that almost being a quasi sequel to Mandalorian and Grogu as well. Too, you know, I can see Mandalorian popping up. Or I don't know. Is that set? This is not set in the same time period, right? Like, oh, they are.
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah, it absolutely could be. Yeah, it's at the same time period.
Okay, yeah. So I could see that. I can even see Ewan McGregor pop up in that too. You know, but again, I would see that again. I love the video game, so Jedi Survivor. If they made a Jedi Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor movie, I'd also appreciate that too. Or anything with Cal Kestis, even if it's like something that we didn't see in the video games, but just like
a cameo
story. Yeah, even I would love to see him as a star. Like I think he's a compelling like character. At least I do after spending 30 something hours with him. So like I would love to see him like have a nice meaty role in a movie and do some like big action. You know.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I could see a cameo. I don't know if I could see a continuation of the story, but I could definitely see a cameo. Yeah, based on everything I'm hearing, RB3, the Filoni movie is going to be more of a like Avengers style. Like the Mandalorian comes in, Boba Fett comes in, freaking Ahsoka comes in, Ezra comes in. Like it's going to be like this big mishmash of like a meetup Avengers style, and then maybe Luke comes in because Luke is in the same time period. So that's kind of what they're pitching as this movie.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see that. I mean, that'd be cool. I mean, I could see it. I'd be interested to see after they wrap that up. What if they did something like a Rebels movie? For example, like that could be cool too. Like
that's what this could be. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. There's a lot of good potential there. I'd be excited for. I do appreciate again like Star Wars on the big screen. Give me that, and I hope it feels cinematic too. Like the one thing I do appreciate the most about the sequel trilogy, JJ, both of his movies and Rian Johnson movies, they definitely felt like movies. Like, and it definitely elicited a very different feeling than like any of the TV shows have in terms of scale, in terms of the fight sequences and things like that. I want both of these movies to feel. I want all these movies to feel like movies, but especially, I know Dave Filoni's a TV guy, but make it feel like a film.
100%. I've been saying this for a minute. I just, to me, nothing on the TV has touched the sequel trilogy. It's just nothing, and I feel like a lot of that has to do with the quality. And a lot of that has to do with the cinematic nature of it all. Everything on the TV to me has felt so small. I'm mainly talking about Mandalorian, but also like Book of Boba Fett has felt small. A lot of Ahsoka has felt small. It just feels not cinematic. It feels kind of weak sauce on a filmmaking level. And that to me is just like one of the biggest downfalls of what we've seen from Star Wars so far. So I 100% agree with you because I do feel like the Mandalorian Grogu RB3 is going to be like the most like TV movie to ever grace the screens. I don't know. I just kind of feel like they're going to cheapen it. They're going to make it like a $40 million movie.
Oh God. Shoot it all in the dome.
All in the dome, all in the volume. And it's going to be just like one background and that's it. And it's Mandalorian and Grogu with like some stunt actors and that's it.
I mean, I hope not. I actually do hope that they could find a way. That is the one concern I've had about Mandalorian and Grogu movie is like, what story can you really tell with those characters? I mean, and again, if it's continuation of everything on Mandalore, maybe who was the kind of questionable alpha leader of Mandalore when like pouring, who was like giving Katie Sackhoff a hard time at the end of last season.
Is it Vizsla?
Vizsla? Is that her? Maybe.
Is it the big guy Vizsla, or are you talking about?
It was the girl. It was the homegirl who had made the new armor for.
Oh, the armorer.
The armorer. That's who. Okay, armorer. Yeah, and
yeah.
Armorer. Did she survive that? Yeah. So maybe a continuation of that. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe just something that like builds into that. Maybe we see some big dragons. Maybe we see some space whales. Maybe. I don't know,
Yeah, I don't know if I know your opinions on season 3 of The Mandalorian RB3.
It was cool.
Okay.
It ended. It didn't end as hard as Mandalorian season 1 or season 2, especially Mandalorian season 2 with John
Season
Carlos.
2 was great.
John Carlos coming out with the saber and yeah, that was great. I mean, the dark saber. I want to see if and he didn't survive that though, right? Like at all, or
he survived and then he came back for season 3. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. So maybe he comes back for the movie too. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. You know, I hope it just ends with something epic. I hope it ends with something epic.
Yeah, I can't lie. I was disappointed in season 3, and I did feel like it was you know, a little lacking for me, but that's just my opinion. I just kind of feel like the Mandalorian and Grogu are very, very one note. And it might be a one note movie too. So hopefully I'm wrong, but we'll see. Shout out to Sigourney Weaver, who's also apparently going to be in that movie.
Oh,
and she might play the villain, I think. She might play the lead bad guy, is what they said.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So she just had a birthday recently, so shout out to Sigourney. Any final thoughts, RP3?
Nah. You got me the most excited for this James Mango movie, Dawn of the Jedi.
Yeah, man.
I might even check out that comic book, you know, because if anything, we all know the kind of movies that James Mango can make.
No.
The Indiana Jones movie.
I was going to say the Indiana Jones.
No. Dial of Destiny. I don't count that. If this is something like Logan, if this is something like Ford versus Ferrari, something like we just talked about Walk the Line last time. If it's something like that, give it to me. Inject it in my veins. I'm here for it.
Yeah, we'll definitely see what happens with that. I honestly feel like if it's good, I know you said you don't want it, but if it's good and people like it, I think it's going to get a lot of sequels. It might get like 5 sequels or something. But we'll definitely have to wait and see. Thank you guys so much for joining Sabak the Block. We appreciate you. Leave us a comment, leave us a like. I'm laughing because I'm like, I don't even know if anyone's here.
We had a strong 5 people. Y'all. 5 people, 4 likes. That's a decent ratio. Whoever the 5th person's out there who hasn't liked the video yet, go ahead and throw that like in now, please. And if you're watching on the replay, like it too.
Yeah, if you're watching the replay, do that. We appreciate you. Make sure you guys tune back next week. We will be back for Sabak the Block. But RB3, where can everyone find you, man?
You'll find me on Twitter and Instagram at Director RB3.
And you can find me at Squad Leader A's. Make sure you guys follow us right here at First Cut TMO. And follow me at Squad Leader A's. Either way, guys, for the Sabak the Block crew, we're going to be peacing out. So peace.